Well, this week's Wednesday Night War became more interesting since last week both shows actually had a drop in the ratings. However, both shows actually had the ratings run up with some great moments, great matches, great storylines that took place. So, all of that will be reviewed, discussed, and talked about on this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that it's pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, matches, wrestlers, and championships. I'm your host, J-Rod here. Before I start reviewing the ratings, as you guys know, I mentioned on the news update alerts of the recent news that took place. First, with the sudden passing of Joseph Hudson, or as we know him as Josephus, and of course, the question mark. That was a very sad time for all of us. If you guys haven't seen this guy before, if you guys are new to the channel, he was playing this character known as Josephus, who's like more of a religious leader or something, and then he has this alter ego as a masked wrestler calling himself the question mark, and he has this thing for karate. He was a great character. Everybody loved him. My co-host, who hasn't been on this with me for over a year, we were all big fans of that. And of course, the recent shocking developments when we heard that Paul White, better known as the Big Show, has signed a long-term deal with AEW, which was something that we did not expect, but it's not unheard of. But can't wait to see what he's gonna do. And also, we got EC3, who signed with a Ring of Honor, even though he made appearances with them. But we also saw that it's been leaked out. Marty Scurll appeared on New Japan Strong for the recent tapings. This was supposed to kept hidden, but somehow it was leaked out. I will talk about that some other time once more information come out. But for now, let's talk about the views and ratings. AEW's Dynamite won this week with the viewership of 831,000 views, compared from last week was 747,000. Now, for the ratings for the 18 to 49 demographic, they got up to a 0.35 compared from last week, which was a 0.31. And NXT, on the other hand, they gained 734,000 views. From last week, it was 713,000 views. As for the 18 to 49 demographic, they got into a 0.18 compared from last week, which was a 0.16. So they both did really well. But however, it's AEW Dynamite that won the viewership and the ratings. So let's review both shows right now. Alright, so let's do AEW Dynamite. So it started out with Jon Moxley facing off against in their debut appearance of Ryan Mineth. If you guys know who he is the brother of Nick Mineth, better known as Dolph Ziggler. Now, I don't need to tell you how the match was. You can pretty much guess that Moxley actually whipped him good. Basically, Moxley has something on his mind, but it ended with him winning the match. But however, the promo, it went out in the post-match. He put out a promo that went a little longer. Now, if you guys recall what happened last week, Kenny said he was willing to give him his rematch, but however, the stipulation, exploding barbed wire match. Now, you ask yourselves, why would Kenny want to do that? That's not his style. If you guys recall, 2 years ago in Revolution, in Full Gear, Kenny was in an unsanctioned lights out match. Basically, it was more of John Moxley's style where he came out on top and he was not cleared to wrestle. So Kenny thinks with this exploding barbed wire death match is going to help him win. So basically, Moxley warned him that he lives and breathes in this type of style, and it was a pretty good promo, giving some strong words what he thinks Kenny is thinking. What makes Kenny so certain that this is going to work in his favor? You know, that's what I think. That's a good promo. He's saying, What do you think you're doing, Kenny? You think you can beat me at my own game?" Because it's true. Kenny is not a death match person. Moxley is. That's his specialty. But we'll wait and see what happens. Now, this was set up for Revolution. As you know, there's going to be like a ladder match for the face in Revolution, who's going to be getting an opportunity for the TNT Championship. It's already been announced. Scorpio Sky, what's his name? Penta, and of course Cody will be in this match. Now, however, one of the spots open, it was later be a qualifying match between Archer and what's his name? And Rey Fenix. Now, as you know, these guys have worked together in the past recently, but however, it just went south. They ended up beating each other after the interview. So you can guess what happens. But we'll talk about that in that. Their match was the main event, which was awesome. So let's move on to the upcoming match. It was the Varsity Blondes taking on Team Taz, Brian Cage, and Ricky Starks. But Taz was doing commentary, but he's not worried about Sting's revenge. He said he already has his son Hook in the car, getting ready to gas it up just in case if they have to make a split, leave. And of course, they're welcoming Sting to come out. And the match was good. However, it was Brian Pillman who's been getting most of the beating. And then Griff Garrison came out. But it was still not enough to take on both Starks and Cage. But however, post-match, all of a sudden you see a video of a body bag being dragged. And then you see Sting's gloves opening the body bag, and Darby Allin comes out in a smile. Lights turns off. Sting's theme music comes out. He comes out dragging a body bag. Now Taz thinks it's Darby, but the shocking development that took place, it wasn't Darby in that bag. It was Hook, Taz's son. He was not too happy with the whole thing. But however, we just went back to WCW where Sting points out the rafters and Darby Allin is zip line down to the ring with the skateboard. Man, who hasn't forgotten? This is something that Sting would have done. And now, I don't know, it was so interesting to see when Sting was doing that back in the past. But it was great. And Sting took out Brian Cage with the Stinger Splash and the Scorpion Deathlock. So basically, even Hook could not help. He was still being injured. Like he was in no condition. But Taz, he is not a happy camper, knowing that he will go out next Wednesday saying that Sting crossed the line when he touched his son. Sting's not going to care. We all know Taz's deal. So we'll see what happens next week. Now, in a recent interview, they had Mero, Kip, and Penelope speaking out for the first time ever since the wedding. Now, Mero said that he's willing to apologize, to forgive Charles Taylor, or as we know him, Chuck. He thinks Orange Cassidy and Trent are two of the bad influence in his life. But however, Chuck doesn't want that. He, on the other hand, is asking them they want to wrestle them at Revolution. Mero said no. Now he's trying to put out a cross saying that I'm not the bad guy. Orange Cassidy is. But that's how it is. So we may see them wrestle down in Revolution. We may never know. But we'll see what happens when we get there. Next match we have Brandon Cutler taking on Sammy Hagar. Jake Hager. Sorry, my bad. It's Jake Hager. Now, as you know, We now know who will be facing the Bucks in Revolution is in fact Jericho and MJF. And Cutler did come out to help the Bucks last week, and he was taken out by Jake Hager. And all of a sudden, this match was like, okay, two huge dudes. But however, I did view in this one, Jake Hager had the much experience. Not because I say so. We know he's. If you guys know, Brandon Cutler took a 7-year absence. He did came back in 2018 or so. He did participate in All In. So basically, that's how I see it. And Jake Hager, he has been involved not only in wrestling, but also in MMA and all that stuff. But it was a good match. But however, it was still not enough for Cutler to beat Hager. Hager won the match, and here comes Santana Ortiz and Wardlow. But however, the Bucks came out and calling out MJF and Jericho. But however, the most despicable thing that took place, Jericho and MJF beat up Papa Buck. Yes, their dad, making him bleed. And this time they went across the line. And both Bucks went down to find them, and they took off. And then you see in the end, taking Papa Buck to the hospital. The Good Brothers were there too. So this is now becoming a full-blown edge war. So we'll see what happens next week as well between the Bucks and MJF and Jericho. Now, next match we have, this is more of a preview that's going to happen in Revolution. We have Isaiah Cassidy being accompanied by Matt Hardy and TH2 taking on Hangman Page. Now, keep in mind, Hangman decided that he was going to put their first quarter dealings on the line against Matt's first quarter dealings. The match was kind of interesting in every way because all of a sudden you see Hardy, he has backup that would help Isaiah Cassidy. But however, here comes Reynolds and Silver helping Adam. Now, he did tell Aubrey Edwards, who was reffing, what Hardy done. And of course, she threw him out of the ringside. And the match was so amazing, it did allow Hangman to win. But however, Hardy is now on a full-blown revenge scheme against the Dark Order, believing they interfere in their plans. But it appears that maybe, just maybe, we'll see Hangman join the Dark Order. We may never know. But Hardy's part of revenge. He took out 5, tossing him over the edge onto a table. So this war between them is far, far from over. Now, Alex Marvez went to interview Kenny, but however, you know how they've been avoiding the interviews. Basically, Don Callis and Kenny are building traps. We know that Kenny will do whatever it takes to win. He wants to hold on to the AEW World title, but we don't know what's going to happen. But he thinks he has the upper hand. But Marvez is not 100% confident that they do. Now, keep in mind, I did mention, this is Jon Moxley's wheelhouse. But what makes them so certain that they will prevail? Like I said, I don't know. We don't know. We never seen a bar exploding match here in the U.S. that much. Normally, you see that across the Pacific in Japan. I seen it, but we'll see what happens. The next match we have is the semifinals in the Women's World Title Eliminator USA bracket. We have Nyla Rose versus Dr. Britt Baker. Now, as you all recall, there's been a bit of a history between those two. Britt called Nyla Rose. She's a conspirator that tried to, take her out of her winning ways and all that. Even Rebel tried to help on this one. She thought she could help, but nope, she got pancaked. But it did allow for Nyla Rose to win her match and advance, and we don't know until Monday or so who will advance to face off against Nyla Rose in the finals in the U.S. brackets. We are paying attention to what's going on in Japan, but we'll see when that day comes. Now, the main event, oh man, that was a hands down good match. It's the ladder match qualifier between Lance Archer and Rey Fenix. I have to say this was a good main event because, of course, these are two people that would do anything. They would want to get in this and be in Revolution for this particular match. I have to say my favorite moment is when Phoenix jumped over Jake Roberts, and wow, that was a good one. I didn't know what to expect, but it was great. But hands down, Lance Archer won the match. I have to say maybe we are seeing Lance Archer getting a really good push in this one, but that's only speculation and guess. But we'll see what happens when we get there. So let's move on right now with NXT. All right, NXT was a very interesting episode. It started out in a non-title match between Dexter Lumis and the North American champion Johnny Gargano. But however, this match was a bit too much funny because, okay, we don't know what really happened with Austin Theory. I think the story is kind of funny, where they're saying the Gargano way is the only way to purify what NXT should be. But however, things are not going exactly according to plan. There was a moment where Indy Hartwell just went Lady Gaga eyes on Dex Lumis. I don't know what was that all about. She lost it. Even Theory did too. He had a chance to whack Dex Lumis with the chair, but he just, doesn't know what to do. But Dex Lumis did try to put Gargano in the silencer 3 times. Like they say, first time, not good. Second try, maybe. Third time's a charm. But it worked. But I don't know what is going on with Austin Theory. I thought it was a funny thing, but wow. Now, as you know, the match that we were expecting last week, it was happening this week. It was Santos Escobar and Karrion Kross. General Manager William Regal threatened Santos. If he doesn't show up, he will be suspended indefinitely and will be stripped of his title. Now, Santos thinks he's smart. He thinks he can control all the time he wants, but no, you don't. Throughout the entire time, we've been waiting until we get near the main event. And we'll get to that in a bit. Excuse me. Anyway, where was I? Okay. Now, as you know, we were expecting to see MSK soon. They were doing an interview talking about their successful win at the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. But however, they were viciously attacked by the runner-up team, or as people will say, the losers, Grizzled Young Veterans. Now, Grizzled Young Veterans have been already pissed off. As you know, they lost last year in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic to an oddball team, which is Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle. But however, in this particular match, they thought they had it coming. They've already put the entire NXT Tag Team division on notice. But the last thing they need is to lose to a group of newcomers who they feel they don't deserve those tag team titles, but they do. They beat them fair square, and they are a well-known tag team in the independents as we know them. But Grizzled Young Veterans don't see it that way. Now, This match was supposed to take place, but it ended in a no contest. Russ Taylor versus Leon Ruff. Now, Malcolm Bivens is trying to right a wrong after what happened last time, where Tyler lost to Kushida, but he put Leon Ruff. However, Ruff was viciously attacked by Swerve. Now, Swerve has his attitude saying Leon Ruff was given everything handed down to him. He wants his hand down right now. And he viciously took him out. So the match ended in no contest. No one won, but of course, Russ Taylor claims that he won. But we'll see what happens. Whoever will challenge him, but I get the feeling the next feud between Ruff and Swerve is going to come up. Now, there was an earlier video where they showed GM William Regal talking to Zoe Starks, who had an impressive match last week. So he decided to ask her, how would she feel to be in a match, a non-title match against the current NXT Women's Champion, Io Shirai? And of course, she's down. She took it. So the match was really good between Io Shirai and Zoe Clark. And I have to say, one of the good matches I've seen so far. And I didn't know, as you know, this was a non-title match. But if she would have won that match, maybe Zoe Clark would have had an opportunity of the women's title. But no, Io Shirai won the match. But however, once again, in post-match, we had Toni Storm calling it. She wants her shot of the title. Of course, Io Shirai said, name the place, name the time. So she's like saying, I'm not going to go to Regal. You are scared of me. I'm like, who said that she's scared? But she claims. She goes out running her mouth saying that she beat Rhea Ripley for a title, and she'll do the same thing to Io Shirai because those two have come across each other at the Mae Young Classic where she won. So she's telling her. So Storm is telling Io, go tell Regal to set up the match. She doesn't want to be the one to set up the match. She wants Io to do that, which she did, and it's going to take place next week. Now, as you guys know, recently we've been seeing Cameron Grimes now living the luxurious. He saw clips of the $1 Million Man, but it was funny. People posted this. The $1 Million Man got nothing on Cameron Grimes. I mean, I have to say yes. It feels that way to me. I'm like laughing my butt off over that. So he's like playing basketball everywhere, trying to give money to people. I'm like, wow, so hilarious. But it was great. Now, as you know what happened with the Way earlier in the Dexter Lumis match, Gargano doesn't know what to make, what's going on, so he practically told Theory, you're going to therapy. That's the last thing Theory needs, but if I were you, just go. Thought it was funny. Now this women's match is Katie Catanzaro taking on Xia Li. Now Xia Li said that she's going to purge Casey Catanzaro. Now Casey and Kaden are not liking what Xia Li has become. Her master Tian Shan did something to her, but of course Xia Li feels that I don't need them anymore. Basically, she just destroyed Casey, hurting her leg. The match had to stop by the ref because she was hurt. And then as soon as the match was over, Xia Li said to Casey, she's next. So we may see that match sooner than we think. Now, this next match was Killian Dane versus Maverick. Killian Dane and Drake Maverick taking on Grizzled Young Veterans. Once again, the Grizzled Young Veterans gloating what they did about MSK. As you know, they believe that their destiny is to win the NXT tag team titles. As if you guys know, they were the first ever NXT UK tag team champions. So basically, they're trying to prove a point that they are the true top dogs of what NXT needs. And of course, they lost the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Not once, but twice. And of course, they were able to come on top of this one, but no luck. And of course, we see how Killian Dane was carrying Maverick, and he runs into his old friend, Alexander Wolf. They were once part of a group known as Insanity. I mean, I don't know what Killian Dane would think. You ask yourself this. Wolf left. Sanity just broke up. But that's how it is. Now we get to the match we've been expecting. Karrion Kross goes to the parking lot before the bell rings and to start attacking the Weasels, Mendoza and Wild. And the match started right. The whole thing was right there in the parking lot. As Santos actually locked himself in the truck in the driver's seat, but of course Kross found a little pickaxe or something. He said he's not in control of what he's going to do, as long as he gets what he wants. And it became a 3-on-1 situation because it was a no DQ match. And keep in mind, this is not for the Cruiserweight title. But Santos believes that his time is on, that he is unstoppable. There's nothing that Karrion Kross can do about it. But however, best moment is when he grabbed both Wild and Mendoza and tossed them through the plexiglass fence. Santos was in disbelief. But Santos was able to find a weakness. He attacked him from the arm. Weaken it as possible. And even Wild and Mendoza tried to help, but not enough. But it did give the opportunity for Kross for TikTok time's up. It's over. He won the match. But however, do we think this feud is over? Well, we'll see what happens next week, because here's the thing. Santos was undefeated, but now he is defeated. Now, we've been expecting a lot from the newest signee, LA Knight. He said that he will make his appearance whenever his time is right. So it's only on his time only. So I'm excited, but we'll see when that happens. Now Adam Cole comes out, tried to give his reasons why he did it. But basically, you know how it is. Try to say that all this and that. But however, Roderick Strong come out, who's been the peacekeeper of this whole thing. But all of a sudden, it didn't go exactly how Roderick wanted. Adam Cole turned on Strong, telling him how stupid he is. And that seems like it's the end of the Undisputed Era. But we'll see what happens with Cole in the upcoming weeks. So, I'll give you guys my final thoughts. Okay, now, despite of the viewers and ratings, which show was better? To be honest with you, both shows were good. Don't get me wrong. I like the funny moments with the way where Theory is acting differently. Of course, the moments now we're seeing Grizzled young veterans are now, how do I say this, pissed off that they didn't win the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, but they want to prove they are the best in the division. And of course, seeing Karrion Kross defeating Santos, very good. But however, I think there were certain elements in AEW were very good. Like, for example, Sting. I know there's been a lot of criticism about him, saying that, what's he going to do? We haven't, like, if you guys recall, he just showed up and all this and that. Then he uses the bat, and then he got last week powerbombed by Brian Cage. But I think the idea of him I think they're trying, AEW are trying to find a way to work with him to We know we don't want to see him get hurt extensively, but I think what he did kind of worked. And I think it felt great for the fans who are big fans of Sting and now becoming fans of AEW. It kind of felt that's what it needed. Now, what other things? The feud between the Bucks and MJF, I think this is more like MJF and Jericho are trying to get in each other's skins. The feud that will take them to Revolution, I have to say some of the good matches that are gonna take place in Revolution as now becoming more clear and clear because AEW are building much to their upcoming pay-per-view, which now it's going to take place on a Sunday next month. So I feel right now the edge goes to AEW, not because they won the ratings, because I feel much of the stories that are being built for Revolution fits into it. And I'm sure some of you guys feel the same way. But you're saying there were J-Rod, there's good matches they did in NXT. Yeah, but keep in mind, they don't do a lot of pay-per-views like they do in Raw or SmackDown in the main roster. They just go take over whenever it feels appropriate. But we'll see some of their good matches that leads to that match in a couple weeks. That's always been the case like that. But I'm okay with that. But I feel the story build-ups in AEW for Revolution is going great. And of course, the whole thing with the women's world title eliminator, that is something I'm enjoying as well. So we'll see when we get to Revolution and all that. I can't wait to see Paul White make his appearance at AEW Dark Revelations or Elevations. I can't wait to see him. I know there's been a lot of talk about that, but it is what it is. So I'll see you guys in the next DWC time. Same DWZ channel. So I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.